Welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus. We're recording today from the Advisors Mortgage Group studios right here in Carmel, Indiana. And I'm Rick Ripma, your hardworking mortgage guy. I've been in mortgages and real estate for over 34 years. I have helped over 5,200 folks finance their homes. My team and I believe in custom tailored loans, not the one size fits all approach. We believe there is a right mortgage for you, and we believe we are the team to deliver it.
And I'm Arnold, part of Rick's hardworking mortgage team. I've been in the financial industry for 15 years, helping people rebuild their credit and to get the best interest rates for them. I've also have a passion in helping you secure your future in generational wealth through, if I could talk, through real estate and helping you pay off your home faster and even get you into rental properties if you want to do that.
And as we get started, if you have any questions on Indy's real estate market or on mortgages, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or you can call Ian or I at 317-672, is that right? 317-672-1938. Man, you did that to me. 317-672-1938. And today we're really excited to have Jamie Smock. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
All right. And you're with FC Tucker.
Yeah.
And you have a great background. We want to talk some about that, but thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Excited to be here. Thank you.
You've made a transition into real estate. You've been in real estate for quite some time, but what did you do before real estate?
Yeah. So my dream when I was in college was to there were two things that influenced me. Rush Limbaugh was just kind of being a big deal back then, right? Late 80s, that kind of thing. And I was into talk radio, but sports was my life. I went to college to play hockey, and then they told me in order to do that, I had to choose a major and actually study something. And I said, well, I guess I'll go into broadcasting. And sports ended up being that avenue that I ended up on. So I was a play-by-play broadcaster, mostly in ice hockey. I did a lot of other sports as well, mostly in radio, but also a little bit of TV. So for 13 years, I was a professional broadcaster, mostly doing play-by-play sports.
What college?
I went to Brockport State. So I grew up in Western New York, Rochester, New York, and the State University of New York College at Brockport, right? So part of the SUNY school system there, and that's where I went to school.
And how did you end up in Indiana?
Yeah, so my wife's family all migrated from West Virginia to Indianapolis many moons ago, just kind of my wife's brother got a job out here, hired his other brother. They both married women here from Fishers and kind of settled down, had kids, etc. We would visit all the time. And then eventually, the business I was in, it was a lot of travel, a lot of hours, not a ton of pay. It was getting really difficult. And so once we had our second child, we kind of looked at things and said, man, we got to get closer to family. And didn't have much interest in going back to Western New York. Didn't have any interest in going back to West Virginia, and we knew the family was here in Indianapolis, and it's been the best move we've ever made. It's a phenomenal place to raise a family for sure.
Yeah, it is a great place. So when you came here, did you get right into real estate, or what did you do when you got here?
No, actually, I had a few meetings about broadcasting. I wanted to keep scratching that itch best I could. I wanted to continue to pursue it, and it just wasn't working out. I didn't have many contacts in Indy. I knew a couple of guys. I remember, sitting down and having beers with Mark Boyle and talking to him because I was a big fan of his, and I got to meet him through somebody, can't remember who it was, that introduced me to him. And he was great, tried to help me a little bit as well, but there just wasn't a good opportunity for it. So I was a stay-at-home dad for about a half a year, maybe 3/4 of a year. And then I guess it was less than that, actually. So it was about a half a year. And then ended up getting into real estate. Just was something that I was always interested in, didn't know what it was about to work in the business, and got my license, kind of dove into it just to see what it would be like being my own boss for the first time in my life as well. And God was looking out for me because it was the greatest decision I've ever made in my life. I don't really miss the broadcast side of things a whole lot. I miss the energy of a game day.
Yeah.
I miss the action. I like this right here.
Yeah.
It's just all the other garbage. I don't miss that, right? I
Right.
miss this right here. So, but man, real estate's been an unbelievable blessing to me and my family. I really, really enjoy it. You can be competitive in it, just like you can in most industries. Certainly is competitive, which I like that. The wealth that you can develop is very strong. I like that as well. And then every day is different, right?
Right.
You guys see that
Yeah.
as well. Even in a business where you guys are crunching numbers all day, everything's different. You always
Yes.
run into something new. There's always a new challenge to tackle, and I think I think I love that aspect of it. So
Yeah, it's funny when I talk to somebody and they've been in the business, year, 2 years, 3 years, and they go, they think they've seen everything.
yeah,
It's like, well, I've been in it for a lot longer than you, and I have not seen everything. 'Cause
yeah,
every day something else comes up. And you're
yeah,
like, what happened to here?
yeah,
So how did you get you weren't from here?
yeah,
You didn't have a great base of people here. You had
no,
some family.
yeah.
How in the world did you get your business going?
Yeah, that was a tough one too. So, the one thing I picked up, so I was mostly in the minor leagues broadcasting, right? So anybody who knows a little bit about that knows if you're going to broadcast in the minor league, they allow you to do that if you're going to produce some revenue somewhere. So you got to do some sort of sales, ticket sales, corporate sales, whatever it might be. I did pick up some good habits and some good sales skills through that.
Awesome.
Plus, when you're a broadcaster, you're thinking on your feet, you're marketing all the time. You kind of pick up some sales skills inevitably anyhow. And so a lot of that translated. So the one thing that I knew how to do was to cold call. So I started in the real estate business in November of 2007. Market was tanking. It had really just started tanking big time. And I knew it. My whole thought was, hey, if I can make it now for the next year or two, eventually this will turn around. And if I can make it through this time, then I know I'll be able to make it when the market is back to, I don't want to call it easier. It never seems like it's easy, but it's just different, maybe a little more neutral, maybe. And so I just cold called at that time. You can imagine the amount of expired listings on the market.
Right. Yes.
So I called every day. I would print out my sheet. The internet was not as big as it was, so I was still able to use yellow or white pages, crisscross books,
Yeah.
those kinds of things. And man, I just hammered the phones all day, every day. And that was how, and then obviously you're doing open houses and different things to try to generate business. Anyway, I did them all. But the most successful thing I did was cold call. And I just cold called like you could not believe. Because you're right, my sphere of influence was about 10 people. I didn't know anybody. And so it was truly cold calling, but it worked out, man. One thing led to another. And before you knew it, it took me a couple of years and then things took off.
But there wasn't much social media then.
Didn't have social media. Like I said, the internet, I don't know if Zillow was even around in 07.
Right.
Were they? I mean, it was, 20+% of the market was a distress sale. So we were looking at a lot of foreclosure, short sale. I remember getting into the business with Marion County's tax situation, or I guess the property tax situation everywhere, but Marion County appeared to be the messiest. We had weekly meetings on all that. You can remember that was back when Mitch Daniels said enough's enough.
Yes.
And kind of gave us our percentages on the property tax maximum.
That was a disaster for a while.
He cleaned it up with a
He
pretty
did,
good
but it was a
idea. I
disaster
remember at
for
the
a while.
time it was a little controversial, but I think overall, I can't tell you. I know we're going to get off track here a little bit, but that's one thing when I'm working with a buyer that comes from another state and they say, what are the taxes like around here? And I say, well, your primary residence is capped at 1% on residential. It's 2% for an investment property, 3% for commercial. And it's like, well, what a simple process that is. When you come from a messy, you come from New York, Illinois, some of these other states, you get here and you're like, it's what?
Yeah.
You pay $3,000 in tax? What? It's, low taxes, but very simple to define as well. And
Yes.
I think we all like a simplified tax system of some sort,
Yeah. So it's just like the feds have done with our with our income taxes.
Oh,
They've
absolutely.
simplified
It's
it
very
so that
simplified. That
anybody
booklet that you have.
anybody with 500 CPAs
Yes.
can maybe get it somewhat right.
Right. Exactly. So I wish they would clean that and
me
make that
too.
easier. But
Me too.
So anyhow, that was I forget the question where we were on. But
Well, you were talking about how you got the business going and how the industry was at the time because it was back then it was such a different industry, and then so we got off track, but we were talking about how you got going.
Yeah,
and
just the cold calls
Yeah.
was the primary
Yeah.
generator. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, if I look back at the business I have now in my database and I kind of take the family tree of it, started with this listing and went from here to here, and I met these people and all that, that expired group was everything to me. That was, I have never calculated the percentage of the business overall of what I have now that came from what started, but it's huge, huge.
Now, do you still do any cold calling?
Not much. So that side of the business changed quite a bit. I would still encourage people to do it. The way that I did it, again, it was different, right? So to get phone numbers now is very difficult.
Right.
So back then, everybody had a home phone in 07, 08, 09.
Right.
We all kept a home phone, and we loved these new cell phone things that were coming out.
Right.
Right. So I had a BlackBerry at that point. If you know what I mean, they were like,
that was
having
cool.
a keyboard like that was a big deal on a phone, right? So to have the smartphone, that was just in its infancy. So everybody had a home phone. So I was able to reach people all the time. It's much more difficult now to get legitimate numbers, and you could pay services to get it. And I understand that. But it's just a lot more difficult to track things down. Now, just over the last, 3-4 years, our expired amount of listings too is very minimal.
Right.
You could clear those phone calls in a matter of 30 minutes. I was calling pretty much all day, every day. That's
Right.
how many expired listings were out there. And I don't know if we'll ever hit that market again or not. So it's changed. So no, I don't do much of that anymore. Every once in a while, I reach out, but it's usually because I see something that I really like, wow, that's a wicked house, and I would love to have an opportunity to market that thing, or I love that neighborhood, or, something of that nature where I'm just intrigued by it. So,
yep. I got a call not probably 3-4 months ago from a real estate agent, just cold calling. And he obviously had my name, and I'm guessing I've been in my house over 30 years. So I'm guessing he bought a list of homes in my area
who'd be ready to sell,
who would likely be ready to sell.
Yeah, I've seen those. There's a lot of softwares out there offering that, right? And I'm never against it. I should probably do more of it. There's probably a lot of realtors out there saying the same thing I am, that, it's funny. I remember having coffee one day with a financial advisor, a good friend of mine, and he, just over a conversation, this was, 7-8 years ago, and he was telling me about how they get started in their business, right? So they get hired, and then they just get plopped a big folder, and it says, here you go, and you just start making calls. And these are cold to quasi-warm calls of companies and people and individuals. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're calling, trying to see if they can manage the 401k for the company. That's probably what it is, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
But whatever it is, he just made this kind of comment where he was just kind of giggling when he said it. He's like, sometimes I wonder why I ever stopped making cold calls. And I was sitting there listening to that, and I'm thinking, like, why did I ever stop making cold calls? Like, I generated a whole business out of it.
Right.
And then I kind of stopped doing it. And I do oftentimes think about that and say, what if I just kept doing nothing but cold calling?
Right.
It's a tough way to do a business, but it worked.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's definitely something that somebody getting new into the business, you're highly recommending.
You got to do it. You got to do it. You got to experience the rejection of it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to make, when I did my numbers, it would take me 100 phone calls to get one listing. And so, and there were that many expireds though, where I'd be calling more than 100 in a week.
Right.
For sure. I was probably calling 20 to 30 a day.
Yeah.
And so it would take me, a while to get a listing appointment.
Right.
So 100 calls, one appointment. So you got to kind of be into that groove.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not easy to get fired up about that.
And you got to set the time apart and everything else.
Correct.
Well, how about this? If somebody's wanting to get in touch with you, how would they do that, Jamie?
Ian, that's a fantastic question.
No cold calling.
You can call me cold. Well, they don't hesitate doing that now. I'll tell you that. I'm sure you guys get them too. But best way to reach me, I'm best by phone, man. Text or call. 317-695-3369 is my number. 695-3369. I can give you my email address, but honestly, the easiest thing is just go to jamiesmock.com. JAMIESMOCK, just jamiesmock.com. Everything you need to know is there. We've got a small team. If I can't handle anything at the moment, we've got great qualified experts that can help you out as well. So we've set ourselves up to kind of be able to move in many areas and be flexible. So,
all right. And Rick, how would they get a hold of you or I?
Go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or you can call 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938. I remembered it.
Good job.
So you guys have been together for a while, and Ian still needs to ask you how they get in touch with you.
I like
he
to
can't
test.
remember.
That's
it.
interesting.
I like to test his memory.
Oh, is that what it is?
Like the intro.
Okay. Yeah.
You heard how he fumbled with the number.
Oh boy.
He's used to the old, again, he's used to the having to memorize every number. Now it's in
Right.
your phone.
Right.
He doesn't remember them.
Yeah. Yeah. So when that rotary phone, that's yeah.
I remember those. My dad, that was, in fact, my grandfather was one of the people who helped develop the touch-tone phone because he was at Western Electric and he was an engineer.
One of the greatest inventions back in that day was not the rotary or touch-tone phone. It was the 30-foot cord on your phone.
Oh, yes.
Come on now.
That was the first cell phone.
That's freedom. Before the wireless, before that big antenna you'd pull out on your phone. I mean, whoever invented the cord that you could,
Yes.
maneuver around the kitchen and get down the hallway quietly with your girlfriend around the wall. Yeah, that was a big invention at the time.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
The other nice thing is most people don't think about is you used to have to pay extra for long distance calls.
That's true.
And now, for instance, my wife has a 260 number. We don't change it because that's the number she just has.
Yeah.
So technically that would be all long distance, but there's no such thing as long distance.
It's true.
Just out of country.
Yeah. Right.
Thanks for listening to Indy's Real Estate Gurus. The gurus we interview share valuable insights. They reveal their strengths, personalities, and how they'll work for you. While we hardworking mortgage guys secure your best mortgage, real estate gurus work hard too. They avoid problems the amateurs don't see. They listen. They find unrealized opportunities. If you're buying or selling a home, a real estate guru is a valuable asset. If you're even thinking of buying or selling a home, keep listening and definitely call one of Indy's real estate gurus.
All right, Jamie. So
Am I considered a guru?
You
Yes.
are.
Well,
You're on the show.
Whoa,
You're a guru.
whoa.
We only have gurus on.
all right. Very good.
Oh.
All right. We
You
have our
made
standards.
you made it through 07, 08 with not having a business set up prior. You are
point.
considered a guru.
Good point.
and
Good
not
point.
being from here.
Yes.
Yeah. Good point.
It's amazing. Sorry, I know you got something, but was it between like 2009, 10 and like 2018, 19, where hardly anybody became a real estate agent? Because we talked to tons of people who were before 2008 or 9, right in that time frame, and then after 2018, and very few people who actually got their license during that the middle of that. Is that accurate?
Well, certainly in 07, 08, I can remember coming in with we'll call it a graduating class, right? And in my specific office of where I was in Castleton, they had an area, the bullpen. That's where you went when you started. You got a cubicle and a phone. That was what you had, right? And then you worked your way up into an office, whatever the case might be. Everybody's a little different. That's the way it was in 07 and I can remember coming in with 3 or 4, and it wasn't even midway through 08 where I was the only one left.
Right.
And that bullpen went from 10, 12 people down to just a few, And so, I think we saw a lot of people jump in the business over the last couple of years. I think oftentimes this is a business people see for whatever reason, they just see it as being easy. And it's not easy. It's not an easy business to
Really?
do.
HGTV told me it's the easiest thing in the world.
And
I watched
that's what I kind of explained to people as well is we're not going to go look at 3 homes and then have a spritzer at the cafe to negotiate this thing verbally over the phone. Like that's not the way it's going to work. But even the idea of just running your own business and being 100% commission, and there's constantly with people with their hands in your pocket, like you pay a lot of
expense.
Yeah. So first home I ever sold, I didn't get a dime. That check went back to pay off everything I had borrowed up to that point or whatever. Now, it's a cool business in that, unlike a restaurant or whatever, you can start it fairly inexpensively. You know,
Right.
you can actually start a business fairly inexpensively, right? So, um, from that standpoint, I love the business model, but this is a difficult business. And so, and I don't know the numbers. People know the numbers as far as how many agents are out there, and then the average agent only sells 2 or 3 homes a year,
Right.
right?
They
Isn't
may
it something like
hardly
that?
make
It's
any money
not
at
even a
all.
handful.
Right. Like
And
80%.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and anyway, so I think depending on what the market's doing, we see people dive in, dive out, and kind of thing. And but the gurus, they stay in it for the long haul and try to develop, try to improve, and try to bring a better experience to buyers and sellers all the time, right?
Right.
So that's kind of what we're doing.
That's what we've seen. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. And it's part of why we do this. We want people to know if somebody's listening and they're thinking about becoming a real estate agent, they need to know it's not like HGTV. This is it's a rewarding business. And everybody who I've talked to who's in it, all the gurus, they love the business, but it's not easy.
No, absolutely. And I enjoy those shows too. I watch just about every house flipping show there is out there. I like all those kinds of things. The $1 Million Listing New York. I love that show, I've got to tell you, but it's very unrealistic. And the one thing I don't like about it is they are really commission hungry. They're always talking about, how much this means and how much that means. And it's kind of not the way that I was nurtured in this business at all. I had the right mentors that kind of told me, hey, you just take care of people and don't
Right.
worry about your wallet. That'll all take care of itself if you're doing your fiduciary responsibility. And so that's the only thing that rubs me the wrong way with that too. But and it's like you're saying, I think people see that on TV and assume, hey,
Yep.
my goals don't a private jet. I'm going to get into selling real estate.
Yeah, it gives people the wrong impression.
It does. It does. Yeah.
All right. So I know you're with FC Tucker now.
Yeah.
So did you, when got your license, did you start right with them, or did you try to?
Only company I've ever been with.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you think they helped you become the person you are now?
Wow. So many ways. I like the FC Tucker company. There's a lot of great brokerages out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm never one to trash others. I think others have different business models. I liked the idea of being an independent broker at the time. So, we were just recently merged there about a year ago with Howard Hanna, which is a little bit of a larger regional brokerage. And so we kind of have, even though we're still FC Tucker, we're here, we've kind of got a little bit of an expansion. And I like to see that. There's some big growth, and the people with Howard Hanna are fantastic. But I love the idea of being an independent broker. So, back in 07, 08, 09, the ability then to send out one email and reach 600 to 800 agents who were doing most of the business in the area was tremendously powerful. The infrastructure of what they had, a marketing department, an IT department, a social media department, as that was coming around. There's a lot of infrastructure there that, again, we talked about the ease of starting a business. You think of some other businesses where you're hiring or starting a department here and a department there
Right.
and a department, to have all that built in, have all that muscle behind you. That was powerful to me. I liked it. And, they had been around 100 years, right? 1918 was their, when they started. So we just celebrated 100 years there a few years ago in 18. And I just liked that the people I met, very professional, very successful, and the infrastructure there was. Now, with all that said, Ian, I can look back on it. How many years is that from 07 to now? Whatever that is.
Yeah.
16.
Yeah.
16 years. I could look back on it now and I could tell you that that's what I've noticed. But truth be told, the reason I chose them is that location in Castleton was across the street from the church I attended where I dropped my kids off for preschool. And I would go in, I could drop Caleb off, go to work, and then get out of work, pick him up at 4:00 and come home. And that was the reason why I worked at that location. And so, and then my daughter ended up going there as well. So when I started in the business in Osage, he would have been 3, and she was 1. And then it rolled by the time he was 5 and out, she was 3 and going in, and I had that for another 3. So there I was, 6, 7-year window of dropping kids off, picking them up. That's why I chose where I ended up. And
Much
again,
better than my
complete God thing. He has blessed me in so many ways, but he was overseeing that for sure, because the people I ended up working with, the office I ended up working with, could not have been better. All of it has just worked tremendously, and it's the best thing I ever did. But that was why I truly did it.
Yep.
I knew they were a good company. I knew I had the backing. I had interviewed with a couple of other smaller brokerages. I was a little nervous into getting into what we call a mom and pop situation. I look at them now, I understand what they are. They serve, they're a great business. But when you're new coming in, I kind of really liked the infrastructure that Tucker had.
Yep. All right. And how would somebody get to work with you and Tucker?
How would they get to work with me as far as listing a home, buying a home, whatever the case may be?
Get in touch with you.
Getting in touch with me. So the best way to do that, Ian, it's a fantastic question. They can reach me by phone, text, or call at 317-695-3369, 317-695-3369. Website's the easiest thing, jamiesmock.com. It's JAMIESMOCK, but jamiesmock.com. You can go there, get my email address, my phone number, everything's right there where we're at. So we work all of Marion County and the surrounding counties, so pretty much anything in the metro Indianapolis area, we work it, and we'd love to help you out. We're a full-service real estate team, so we handle anything from investment, new construction, resale, multifamily, doesn't matter. We're involved in all of it, and we feel like we've got pretty good systems down to help you seamlessly through all those transactions. And rentals.
I want to see if you can do just as well as he did, Rick. How are they get hold of us?
I think it's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
All right, and now we'll get into the question of the week. And the question of the week is sponsored by, Rick and I, the Hardworking Mortgage Guys, where we believe in helping and supporting you and your realtor by sending constant updates on your loan process. Nobody likes to live in a black hole not knowing what's going on. So contact Rick or I at Hardworking Mortgage Guys. All right, so here's a question for you. And then I have most people don't have a pseudo question, but because you told me your kid's age and how long you've been in the business, I have a second question. What was your first car?
My first car was a 1972 Impala. My brother, Steve, gave it to me for free.
That was a good deal.
Yes, it was a very good deal at the time. Still a very good deal. Man, that car was an absolute tank. It was a perfect car to start driving in. And I know he's got great memories from that car, and I got great memories from that car. I love that car. And it went, man. That car, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of miles we put on that thing, but it got handed down. It was my grandfather's car at one point. Somehow Steve ended up with it, then I did. It was great.
And the fact that it was handed down to kids just learning to drive,
no
and it still lasted a long time.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big deal.
Well, you remember the size of those cars.
Oh, yeah.
It had a 400 engine in it. I can remember the first day I got my license where I could drive on my own. I went out. And I had made a wrong turn, so I was trying to get out of this. There was an apartment complex right across the street from our neighborhood, and I was just jamming it in. I threw that thing in reverse and hit it, and boom, went right into the big brick. It said, "Hey, welcome to Meadow Glen," or whatever the apartment was, and took out probably 4 or 5 bricks, and might have scratched the car. I mean, and if it did, like, who cares, right? That was not a vehicle that. You weren't, carrying collision insurance on that vehicle. That's for sure.
So what was your kid's first car
So, I've got one that's in college. He drives a 2010 Toyota Corolla.
Oh, that thing will last him forever.
I think it should. Yeah, I think it should. So, and then my daughter's getting ready. She's probably going to just jump into what I've got now, which is a 2011 Jeep Liberty. So, yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, first car, it's always something to somebody,
Yeah.
It's that, hey, I don't have to ride my bike anymore. I can drive this.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Yeah. My nieces both had Liberties. My brother-in-law, he has a Liberty. And I always find it funny because when you ask them what they have, they say they have a Jeep.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite. I don't enjoy the vehicle. I don't really like it myself, but it's I'm not part of that Jeep family, that
Yeah.
cult by any means.
You don't
So
wave at everybody.
I don't
when you
wave at
drive by
everybody, and I just kind of go like this, actually, because I know I'm the embarrassing model among the Jeep family.
Wait,
so.
you don't have your name all plastered all over it and
No,
all that?
I haven't chromed it out. I haven't done,
Wow.
no big whatevers. I don't
Man.
know. They always have it tricked out with accessories. No, I have none.
Yeah.
It's
well,
a point A to point B vehicle for me right
Yeah.
now.
That works.
It
right?
it does. Yes, I used to drive a really nice car, and I don't know. I just kind of got over that and said, just give me something, get me from point A to point B.
Yeah, I just like the luxury, not necessarily the quietness. I have a 750 BMW,
Yeah,
and it is so quiet,
yeah.
and it just drives so well that
I know. I had an E350, and I miss it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a power pillow. It was nice, and I miss it. There's no doubt about it. But
Yeah, it's the quietness for me. It's
Yeah.
it's the way it rides and the quietness more than anything else.
yeah,
And I mean, I bought it used. I got a great deal on it. It was I didn't feel like you did when I got done. I felt like I got a pretty good deal on the car, and it was a great car. But anyway, let's get on to more and exciting things for most people. Not for me. I like cars. So
yeah.
but what would you say is your superpower or superpowers?
So I just had this question asked to me a few weeks ago. My superpower has morphed a little bit. It's crazy that somebody just asked me this not long ago, because it's not a question you typically get. I'm 50 now, so it's changed, but I'd say up to about 5 or 6 years ago, I had a tremendously large bladder. I could hold my pee for a really, really long time.
Wow,
and I consider that to be a superpower.
And you still can.
No, not as much anymore,
lost
because
that
now I'm
superpower.
50. I've kind of lost that superpower. So
So
now,
would you rather have that or be able to fly?
yeah.
Whoa,
The
whoa,
thing
whoa, whoa.
is,
You're going to have to land it several times.
exactly,
Not
exactly.
necessarily.
Yes,
It's raining.
Birds don't.
yeah. It's interesting. I'm not sure which one I would take between those two, but it's probably morphed a little bit now. I could probably out-talk anybody. I could talk more than anybody, maybe. Maybe is that my superpower?
That could
I'm not
be.
sure.
It's important in what we do.
Yeah.
You got to be able to communicate.
I'd love the ability to be able to heal somebody. That would be pretty cool.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
To be able to touch
That would
somebody and
be.
heal them of any issues. But superpowers, I don't think I have any superpowers, unfortunately. I may have had one at one time, like I said. But currently, I'm not so sure I have any superpowers except, I can talk all the time.
So your wife must be pretty quiet, or
She's not overly quiet.
I didn't know if you just talked the whole time in your home.
You know what it is, Ian? She's perfect, is what she is.
Well, no, my wife is perfect. Your wife
Yes.
can't be perfect.
Well,
I'm sorry.
They could both be perfect. It's not
Yes.
one or the other.
Exactly. And don't get all selfish about the perfect wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's perfect for him.
Yes.
Your wife is perfect for you.
Oh,
How about
that's the
that?
way it
She
works.
Talks a
yeah.
perfect amount of time.
Yeah. Sometimes when you talk a lot, they have to shut us up.
And I'm kidding about that. I like to talk to people. I like people in general. That's one of the things that I love the most about this business. But I do like my quiet too. So I'm not constantly talking, but I do talk a lot.
Yeah.
That's all right.
About it.
I mean, you have the job where your job was to talk for a while, so it's
Yeah.
hard to just cut that off.
Yeah.
So let's hear you talk a little bit more.
I failed the superpower.
Well, we
question,
know
didn't
there's
I?
more superpowers
Yeah.
but we'll go on.
Okay.
What do you think your most memorable deal was?
Most memorable deal. Probably the first time I sold something in the 7 figures was a memorable deal. I didn't know if I could ever do that. Indianapolis, there wasn't a ton of that at the time. Pretty crazy now. There's a lot more of it. It's amazing to see actually the way that's transformed since I got in the business. But I think that would be memorable. And then, Ian, there's probably a lot if I go back and think on them. Well, I'll tell you what, here's one. So when I was chasing down expired listings, there was an individual in New Jersey that owned 4 or 5 investment properties on the Near East Side, and they had gone expired. I think there were 3 homes actually. And I hounded this guy. I think he owned a furniture business out in New Jersey. I called. Somehow I got a hold of his fax machine. I faxed him. I was faxing him letters like every other day, chasing him down. I wanted to list these houses. I wanted to sell them. They were like $30,000 houses. And on one of them, so there I was pretty excited. He eventually signed a listing contract with me. I never sold any of them, but I went down. They were not 30,000. They were less than that. These were $15,000, $20,000 houses in tough areas. And I remember putting a sign in the yard and going in this house. He had a cousin that I met who gave me keys and said, here you go. They were all vacant. Well, the one house that I walked in was an obvious drug house. There were mattresses laying around. People were piling garbage in the backyard so bad that the violations from the city had to be incredible. And so I walked in the house, took a look around, went upstairs, saw what was going on. I was like, this is not somewhere I need to be. I was like, but put a lockbox on the door anyway, stuck a sign in the yard, and started listing this thing, started to market it. And whoever was frequenting the house was not happy that I had locked the doors and shut all the windows and locked the windows, etc. And instead of messing around with the lockbox or anything else, they ripped the front door off the house.
Wow.
And I met somebody. This is kind of the cool part of the expired stories. This is where it all, through that listing, I met somebody who called me and said, hey, do you know that door's been ripped off your house? I own a property across the street that I rent out. You know, I don't really like what's going on over there. I say, hey, thanks for letting me know. And I went over there and I tried to secure it, but honestly, it was a bad situation.
Right.
But I met that guy who I ended up listing 3 or 4 homes over the next couple of years with, started doing some business with him, and all that just kind of spidered in that area. And so that was pretty memorable because that was like one of the very first listings I ever had. It was a big deal to me. Again, I wasn't going to make but I was going to make dinner off that commission. Didn't matter. I was just happy to have a sign in the yard, like I got a listing. And then somebody went and ripped the door off the front of the house so that they could use it for shelter at night. It was a scary situation, man, whenever I had to go over there. But
I'm impressed you'd walk through it.
yeah.
I think I'd have turned around and left.
Nowadays, I'd probably do it a little differently. I've gotten a little smarter over time. But yeah.
He needed dinner.
Man, did I ever. Man, did I ever.
Yeah, I think I'd have just put a lockbox on the door and said, wrote beautiful property, come see.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be bad.
Yeah.
So you've gone from that to, what does your team look like?
So we're a pretty small operation. So I've got Lawrence Horseman is a full-time licensed agent in our office. He's been in the business now for a little over 2 years. And then Rhonda Jagger is our part-time, kind of our office manager, if you will. She makes sure all the transactions, I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and does a little bit of marketing for us as well. So that's pretty much it. We're a pretty small operation. I've never had more than 2 other individuals on my team, but I probably got my eye out to expand a little bit now. I'd like to kind of change things a little bit with the way we function and get a little more efficient. So I got my eyes open anyway.
Yeah, but still from a $15,000 listing to a couple team members and huge volume and, being a guru, that's a big change.
It's the first time I've ever been called a guru. I got to tell you, it's really nice.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys.
We truly only have gurus on.
Yep.
I'm
honored.
We don't call people who aren't gurus.
We spray paint your car. So thanks for telling us. So we're going to have gurus spray paint on your car.
You can spray paint that all you want. Yeah, I don't even care.
On the other side, steal this.
Yeah, I'll pay you to take it. Yes, it's come a long way. It's been an awesome journey. And you're always learning, right? So we can do better. There's no doubt. And so our team will do better. We'll get more efficient, a little more streamlined, improve our systems. We're always trying to do that every year. So that's what we'll continue to do. Man, I'll tell you, one of the most difficult things right now, you guys probably see it too, is there's so much technology being thrown at you. I'm a little bit, I'm a little bit over technologized. I don't know if that's a word or whatever.
It is now.
But yeah. you know, you got to kind of filter through and see, what am I going to use? What am I not? And everybody's throwing technology at you, and it's just almost cumbersome. And so I think that's one of the keys, though, going forward, is we're going to have to use it in a smart way. We're going to have to create efficiencies through it, but not be burdened by overwhelming technology to, you know, I can't function with everything in my life being some app. And, you know, I still enjoy relationships and personality and talking to people and making phone calls and doing those things. So that's kind of where we're at right now, to be honest with you, Rick. We're on that cusp of figuring all that out.
Yeah. Well,
and we're going to grow with it.
Yeah. Relationships are the most important anyway. And even people who are really into technology, the kids who grew up with it, they actually do want relationships. They want to meet. They want to meet with their lender. They don't want to, they want to talk to them, not just text and email. They want to actually talk to somebody. They don't have to, not necessarily in person, but they want to talk. That's important to them. I find with technology, at least for me, my biggest problem with technology is I actually enjoy technology. I try to take on too much of it too fast. And when I slow down and just do, I do this one and learn it, it's because once you learn the app,
yeah,
as long as they don't change it on us, which they'd like to do, but once you learn the app, you can do pretty well. Even old guys like me.
So I don't know. I forget what the percentage is. Somebody did a study on the percentage of technology that's actually used by agents out there, right? And it's not much. Like, it's 25 to 30% of what's thrown at you, you're actually able to use or that you enjoy using to manage your business. And so what you just said is exactly what I'm talking about. If I get a CRM system, which I really want a good CRM system, but I really only need it to do these 3 things, not these 300 things.
Right.
And if I get caught up in these, 297 other things, it's just, it ties you down. It just slows you down. And that's where, and I agree with you, you use it for these 3 things, and then maybe you add 3 more things over the next year. But that's how slow I am with it. So I know it's a big part of it. We are adopting it, and we're continuing to use it better to create more efficiencies like we've been talking about. But that's probably the biggest thing that's out there right now. I think it's probably in every industry, right?
Yes.
I mean, you can't tell me not everybody's having technology thrown at them. That's just
right.
The way our world has gone with the smartphone.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think you're exactly right. You have to learn that piece and not, because what happens is the shiny objects get our attention.
Correct.
Right? So you think, I got to have it for these 3, and then they tell you about these other 6, and you're like, I want to learn that too. That's going to be really valuable. Well, then you try to learn too much, and then most people just never adopt it. They just never get it, or they become overwhelmed, or whatever it is. So, and I'm saying this, I don't necessarily follow my own advice. I tend to just jump in, but it is important just to learn little by little. And there's so much ways you can learn now. You can go on, YouTube. It boggles my mind how much you can type something into YouTube and somebody's there to show you exactly how to do it.
There's not much social media that I like, but YouTube is definitely
it's
worth its weight in gold. I mean, you're trying to change a tire and run into a jam. That's your answer.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. It is.
It used to be call Uncle Pete, and now just go to YouTube. It's right there. Yep. That exact model, that exact problem, that exact,
by a professional.
It's crazy.
No, not only that is you can go, because I had replaced a couple of faucets and sinks, and I was like, well, how are these guys doing? So you just type in the model number, and somebody's displaying that model number on how to do that.
Exactly.
I'm like, that's just nuts.
Yeah. YouTube's excellent.
What's something that you're most proud of in your business right now?
Boy, I wasn't prepared for that question. Most proud of in our business, we treat people really well. We take our business very serious. That's probably it. I know this, if it's not directly in the cheese, it's certainly borderline cheesy, right? So to say that, but I love the way we try to treat our clients that we're working with. I understand every day that this is the largest purchase you will ever make in your life, and that this is an extremely stressful situation. And so I try my darndest to not put off phone calls, put off emails, put off texts, etc., because I understand what's going on the other side of that transaction.
Right.
I put myself in those shoes. I can emotionally pull myself out of it. I don't need to emotionally get involved in it. That's not going to help anybody. But just to attack a transaction knowing that I understand how important that is to the other person. And I think we get that as a team. I think that's how we function, how we approach it. That's probably what I'm most proud of. We've never lost that. So that might be it. I don't know that we're always proud of the numbers we produce, but again, those take care of themselves, right? So I don't necessarily, I create goals every year, but like how many units and things like that. But in the end, things happen, man. It's like, I wanted to sell a bunch of units this year, but the market's probably not going to allow the same volume and unit that we did last year.
Right.
It's just a different market. So
Right.
I can be mad about that, but I'd rather focus on each individual unit and how we're treating those people going through it
Right.
than I am how many units did we push out and get done. So I don't know. That's probably what I'm most proud of.
So let me ask this. Let's get off the real estate side. Let's have a little bit of fun. So if you're not selling real estate, what are you doing out there for fun?
I love sports of any kind. So I don't play as much golf as I'd like to. Every year I try to figure out in my business model, what am I going to do to create more golf? And so I don't play much, but I'd like to play more. I skate. I play hockey once a week, still play, and love those guys that I play with. Every Tuesday night we skate. They're a lot of fun, and I enjoy that a lot. And then outside of that, just trying to, hang with the kids and do that kind of thing. So stay involved in my church and stuff like that. But
That's awesome.
Just be around people, pal around. I like just pal around. But sports is usually what's got my attention, man. If I'm watching anything on TV, or if I'm, it's pretty much sports driven. I just enjoy it.
So if somebody wants to go play 9 holes of golf with you and talk some real estate, how would they get a hold of you?
Best thing they can do is text or call me at 317-695-3369. 317-695-3369. If they go to my website at jamiesmock.com, JAMIESMOCK, jamiesmock.com, they can go there, reach out to me, and I'll schedule it, and we can get out and we can hit 9, 18, 27, whatever you want to do.
36 holes. Let's go.
I just want to ask, because I have a different, is there a period in between Jamie and Smock, or is there not? Just Jamie Smock.
jamiesmock.com. That's the web domain.
All right, perfect. And if you want to get a hold of Ian or I, it's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can call us at just call. No text. We don't take text on that number. 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
And a reminder, if you have any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, refinance, contact Rick or I. We'll be more than happy to help them. And do subscribe to Indy's Real Estate Gurus.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Rick Ripma's NMLS number 664589. Ian Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.